I grew up in a suburb in Illinois. We had a single family home and lived in front of a pretty apartment complex. My mom always told me never to play back there and to stay on our street. But I, being 10 and having friends that wanted to play hide and seek in the complex, decided to disobey her and just stay alert. At one point it was my turn to be it, and most of my friends had gone home. It was just the three of us playing around 6 p.m. I looked everywhere and couldn't find my friends. Some of the front doors in the complex didn't close properly unless you tugged on them, so some of us hid there. I ended up finding an open door and went in. I looked around and didn't see my friends, so I was about to walk out when a man opened the door to his apartment. He asked if I was lost, and I said no. Now I was just playing hide and seek with my friends. I kept trying to leave and he kept asking me questions. Where's your mom? Where do you live? How old are you? I didn't answer his questions and kept saying, I'm sorry, I have to go. He asked me if I wanted to use the phone in his apartment. I said no again, and just as I was about to leave, he asked, can I tell you a secret? I stared at him and waited. He said, your friend is hiding in my room. She is in there and told me not to tell. Come inside and find her. I bolted out of there and ran home. I didn't tell my mom because I thought she'd get mad at me for breaking the rules. I finally told her a few years back and she nearly had a heart attack. So I was about 7 or 8 when this happened. I lived with my dad in a 3-bedroom house and we made the spare bedroom into a little office. So one day my dad was in the office and I was in the living room watching TV. Dinner time comes around and me and my dad are in the kitchen and we heard someone knock at the door. My dad goes to the door and looks, and there was no one out there. He closes the door and someone knocks again, and my dad looked out the peephole and no one was there. He walks away and someone knocks again and we just ignore it. For the next hour and a half, that's all we heard at the door. My dad finally gave up as he walked to the door. All the power in the house went out. I started to freak out a little and my dad told me to go upstairs and get his gun. So I'm walking up the stairs as fast as I could and I get to the top of the steps, and there's a dark shadow figure standing in my dad's doorway to his bedroom. I screamed as loud as possible and my dad ran up the steps and the man was gone. I was frozen in fear. Thank goodness our neighbor was home and heard me scream. He called the cops and I told the cops what happened, and they caught the guys about 3 miles down the road. The cops said there were 7 of them, all of which were hiding on the roof, and the man that I saw snuck in through our office window somehow. So creepy man that was in my house and scared me. Thanks for 4 years of therapy, and please, let's never meet again. I lived in Malaysia, and when I was 6 years old, my aunt had called me to fetch her 4-year-old daughter from school. So as I walked with her to school, she told me to hold her hand and never let go. But being the dumb child I was, I shook off the hand and started to run to the school. I got tired and decided to stop. As I did, I saw a hand reach down to me, and thinking it was my aunt, I grabbed it, and my aunt started leading me away from the school. I was confused as to why my aunt was leaving the school without her daughter, and I looked up at my aunt and froze. I realized that it wasn't my aunt. I tried to pull away, but he pushed his long, yellow nails into my wrist, so hard I felt blood trickling down. Then he smiled at me, the sight of his disfigured yellow teeth making me gag. He kept pulling me further and further away from the school, and from that moment I knew I wasn't going to see my parents ever again. As I relaxed and let fate take its course, I heard my aunt screaming my name, and the man stopped and simply let me go and walked away. I wanted to run, but my legs wouldn't budge. I just stood there staring, and the man slowly drifted away from sight. My aunt grabbed me and started crying. I cried with her too. The smiling man, let's never meet.